Now, Vice President Osinbajo has declared that leaders owe the citizenry the responsibility of selfless duty because public service is a lifelong enterprise that deserves commitment. The Vice President spoke on Monday as special guest of honor at the virtual launch of the unveiling of the book Osinbajo Strides, Defining Moments of an Innovative Leader. Joining us now to discuss the idea behind the book and the Osinbajo legacy is Dayo Akintobi, a public affairs analyst and one of the authors of the book. Good to have you. Thank you so much, Mr. Akintobi, for being here.
It's a great pleasure to be here indeed.
It's a pleasure to have you. So
Thank
you're
you.
one of the authors of the book, and we understand that 25 journalists came together to put this 29 chapters of the Vice President, basically his accomplishments and whatnot in this book. Tell us what is in the book.
All right, it's interesting. Well, the book, and I have a copy here,
Yes.
is about the lifetimes, achievements, legacy, character, and persona of this enigma called Yemi Osinbajo. And some seasoned Nigerian journalists, media people, political people across the entire spectrum of Nigerian life came together and discovered a common thread running among all their sensibilities about this man and decided that he should be celebrated while he's still in office. It is an opportunity to tell the world about this gifted Nigerian icon. And so 25 of us came together and looked at his public service career beginning in 1988 when he was the special advisor to the then Attorney General of the Federation, all through the way to his 2 terms as the Vice President. In between that, he was also a lecturer, a professor of law, a commercial lawyer. He was, of course, the Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice of Lagos State. So he's worn many different hats over the years. Of course, he's also a well-known pastor of one of the biggest churches in Nigeria and in Africa as a whole. So we looked at the entire tapestry of his public and private life and shared up segments between each of us. I was honored to write a chapter called Destined to Be, How He Became Vice President. And in researching that, each time I went into the archives and read more and more and discovered more and interviewed people, what kept coming out repeatedly was that Yemi Osinbajo is a man of character, a man of patriotism, he's a unifier, he's a man of strong beliefs, and he's a man who wants the best for Nigeria. He believes, and he said it at the public launch on Monday, that we cannot afford to lose hope in a new Nigeria, that those of us who love Nigeria must continue to walk towards building a new Nigeria, and I believe that is what he has spent his entire career doing.
All right, Mr. Akintobi. Now, you co-authored this book, but I'm sure a lot of people would like to know the narratives surrounding his contributions while in office for those 8 years, the high points, the low points. In some cases, it's been suggested that there were certain individuals within the administration that, especially when the president had to travel out, and he wasn't probably given that much cooperation in carrying out his duties. So those low points, challenges, and high points, can you give us an idea of, was that chronicled in the book as well?
Well, yes, absolutely. There's 29 chapters, and what you find through those chapters are exactly what you describe as the highs and the lows, because there's never any political career or any career in life where it's all on the up and up. So there'll be some ups, there'll be some downs, and what we all aspire to is to have more ups than we have downs. But the bottom line is, one thing we discovered about this man is that his greatest strength is inspiring people. And even in the times when he was acting president, when the president was away, which you alluded to, what he did was take principled stance on the things that he believed were beneficial for the people of Nigeria. He didn't really care about whose ox was gored or whose toes he stepped on, which may not have made him very popular with some people in the administration. But his focus was on, at all times, what is best for the people of Nigeria. And I would say he acquitted himself quite admirably. And if you listen to the avalanche of accolades that attended the book launch from former head of state Abdul Salami Abubakar, who wrote the foreword to the book, to Major General Yakubu Gowon, who was the chairman of the occasion and described him as a unifying force, and to even Chimamanda, who did the book review, who said that Osinbajo's greatest strength is in bringing people together, as this book brought us together, which we didn't plan it. He didn't have anything to do. He didn't even know we were writing this book. We kept it under wraps until the day we presented a copy to him, and he was, in the words of Richard Akintobi, he was gobsmacked to even know that so many people could come together, so many people thought that much of him. And Chimamanda said it was a labor of love of the 25 contributors, because we all admire the man to the extent that we were willing to invest our time, treasure, and talent in the actualization of this goal.
That's fantastic. But at the same time, you know, we've seen, well, we've looked at how people have praised this piece. But are you concerned about the timing of the launch, considering that the vice president is linked to the administration that has, you know, caused Nigerians 8 years of what some might call grueling pain? Do you think that this will be received wholeheartedly based on the time and based on the administration with which he's associated?
Without a doubt. For one thing, I want to tell you that there's no administration that's all good and there's no administration that's all bad. And I believe that when the history of this administration is written, there are a lot of positive things that this administration did, particularly in the area of legislation, all the kind of bills that were passed through the House and the infrastructure that the administration has developed. I just simply think that they haven't communicated their achievements as well, such that the public may not be as knowledgeable about some of the things that they have actually done, some of the achievements they have racked up, which will begin to be made manifest probably after they've left office. But in terms of timing, I see this as sort of a valedictory for him, because as you know, there's probably 28 days to the end of this administration, and this is the time when they're all singing their swan songs and they're preparing to exit the stage. So we want Professor Osinbajo, we wanted him to go out in a blaze of glory, because we think that in spite of whatever shortcomings anyone may think that can be tied to this administration, we believe that, and it was from the governors at the launch to Lamido, Sanusi Lamido, to so many other people who commented, even the Secretary General to the Federation who was representing President Buhari. Some of the things that they ended up saying was that his public service career is worthy of emulation. He has been consistent right from the beginning. And the fact that they're exiting the stage now, we feel like we should tell the entire country who this man was. He was the human and humane face of the Buhari administration. Let's take that and keep it here. Professor Yemi Osinbajo, was the human and humane face of the administration over the last 8 years.
Okay, just as you mentioned, the fact that he's been widely regarded as a unifying, you know, and a rally point for as an individual, but should it end while they're exiting now? What do you think will be his further contributions into the Nigerian political space?
Well, it's not just the Nigerian political space, it's the global community. Just last week, he was in Kenya attending the Mo Ibrahim series, and heads of states and even Sir Ibrahim himself pulled him aside and said, you're leaving office, but you're not leaving public engagement. I as an individual, think that the global stage is ready for him. I think perhaps he came before his time in Nigerian politics. Perhaps Nigeria is a microcosm of the larger world, and I think there's a role for him. He is so concerned about the human condition that his mentality and orientation, in as much as he loves Nigeria, can play on a global stage. So I don't see his coming out of office as the end of his engagement with human issues, with public issues. If you look when you get to read the book, you read about things he did with Borno school children and IDPs, where he used his own money and his time and his resources personally to try and uplift the downtrodden and less privileged. I don't see that stopping because he has left office, because it seems to be ingrained in his DNA that he is a caring person, he's a selfless individual. I think the 8 years of his public service to the Nigerian people were just a stepping stone to the beginning of a life of larger service to the global community.
Hopefully he'll make more strides that you might deem worth documenting. Mr. Dayo Akintobi, public affairs analyst and one of the authors of Osinbajo Strides. You're showing that proudly.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us on Newsday. We appreciate your time.
Pleasure and honor, all mine. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.